5 Facts about Albert Einstein Motivation Story. Introduction. Albert Einstein was a smart man, but he wasn't a genius. He had trouble with speech, but that didn't mean he was some kind of savant. He married his cousin and thought about pacifism, among other things, so don't believe those stories about him being some kind of super genius just because you read them on the internet. And remember, if you want to get your mind working in all kinds of interesting ways, try making up stories about famous scientists instead of just sitting around imagining all sorts of crazy stuff like Einstein is equal to genius. Einstein was a smart child. Albert Einstein was a child prodigy. He learned to read and write at the age of 3, and he could do complex calculations in his head. At age 5 he could add, subtract and multiply numbers up to 8 times 10. At the age of 8 he was already doing algebra problems that most adults had trouble with. Einstein was also an extremely gifted student who excelled at school despite his parents' lack of money for books or supplies. His teachers said that if they gave him extra homework assignments it would just make him work harder. Instead they'd ask him questions about what he learned during class instead of giving him more work on top of what he already did well. He had trouble with speech, but it wasn't because he was a genius. Albert Einstein was born in 1879 in Germany and lived there until he was 11 years old, when his family moved to Italy. His parents were Jewish and they didn't speak much English, so they enrolled him in Italian schools where he learned both languages. Later on in life, Albert would say that learning two languages helped him think more quickly because each language had its own unique set of terms for things such as time and space. He used German language often. He married his cousin. Einstein was not a fan of the institution of marriage. He married his first cousin Elsa Lowenthal in 1919, but they were divorced in 1925. After this, Einstein had no interest in dating or forming relationships with women other than as friends and colleagues. His mother was an extremely controlling figure in his life, who kept him on a short leash throughout their relationship. She wanted her son to marry another woman named Mileva Marek, but he refused because he did not feel that marriage would be good for him academically or mentally, as he believed it would take away from his scientific career. The whole Einstein is equal to genius thing is off base. Einstein was not a genius. He was an average child, and he had to work hard to get where he did. Einstein wasn't dyslexic, but he did struggle with reading at first. His teachers thought he was lazy because of this, but they were wrong. It was just a case of poor teaching skills on their part, and maybe some dyslexia. He didn't speak until age 4 because his parents wanted him to learn languages before learning English. Anyway, speaking wasn't necessary for him as an adult anyway. He was a pacifist. Albert Einstein was a pacifist and believed in world peace. He was also a supporter of the League of Nations, which he believed could prevent future wars by bringing countries together to cooperate on international issues. Einstein was also an active member of the United Nations from 1946 until his death in 1955, becoming its second president in 1951. In this role he opposed the use of nuclear weapons during any future conflict and signed on to their manifesto with Bertrand Russell calling for world government as well as disarmament by all nations, Russell-Einstein Manifesto. Albert Einstein was just like you and me. Albert Einstein was a normal person. He did not have any special powers or talents, and he did not think he was extraordinary. He said that a stupid person can be more easily fooled than a clever one. Einstein's motivation story is an important part of his legacy because it shows how everyone can achieve greatness if they work hard enough at it. Conclusion. You might be surprised by some of these facts about Albert Einstein, but that's because the story we tell about him is incomplete. The truth is that he was just like you and me, a person with flaws and strengths who lived his life in pursuit of knowledge. We should all be so lucky as to leave behind such an impact on the world.